The pack is looking rough. The Lions got crushed. Bijan was sick. San Fran lost because of the picks. And the Browns did just enough. Welcome to the Mishpo. All right, welcome everybody to the Week 7 episode of the Mishpo. We just finished up with Rivalry Week, and thus I'm alone again. Just can't quite get the schedules lined up. We got things going on during the week, but we're still got a show this week, of course, and some pretty interesting things have happened between last episode and now, including literally like less than 5 minutes ago, there was a trade that went through that I added to the docket. But before we jump into that, I've got myself a drink here. It is a recent, very, I would say a recent favorite beverage of mine. One of my favorites for sure. It is a from the brand Cutwater, which if you've never heard of them, they essentially make mixed drinks and they can them up. And I've got a vodka mule, which is essentially just a Moscow mule. And I love me a good Moscow mule. In fact, it's actually pretty neat. The can here is infused with copper, and I do have a copper mug, but that's pretty much just for wine. But it'll be fine regardless. In this cup I got here, they've got Bloody Marys, they got margaritas, they've got White Russians, um, pina coladas, I believe. They've got a multitude of different beverages that are all very tasty. Had finished off this week the spice. It's a spicy Bloody Mary actually. So then it is a bit spicy. So if you're not a fan of that, then I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. But if you like Bloody Marys, go with it. You want to make sure you shake the can before drinking it, and then I poured it over ice with a straw. As one drinks a Bloody Mary typically. So, would definitely recommend checking them out. They are a bit pricey, but I think it's worth it. So, before we jump into the 4 trades that we had since last episode, I'm going to take a sip of my mule. So. All right. So, first trade that kind of started. Well, actually, last week we got kind of kicked off with a couple of trades after we were kind of in a lull of trades. But now that teams know kind of where they're at, um, things are kicking into high gear. So, I traded Cortland Sutton to Bruce for Luke Musgrave because at the time I was looking for a better tight end. I had Ertz, but he wasn't doing very well for me. I think the 1 week that I started him, so I was looking for another tight end, and Cortland had been kind of touchdown dependent. He continues actually to still do pretty solid work, um, but I just don't fully trust that Denver offense. I mean, I shouldn't maybe trust the Packers offense a whole lot more, but I like Luke Musgrave, bit of a homer, obviously, so that probably plays a part into why I wanted him. And but I had been wanting him from Bruce for a couple weeks, and so he finally put him on the trade block. I'm like, hey Bruce, you want Cortland Sutton? He's like, yeah, sure. That's pretty much it. So I like I said, Cortland Sutton did pretty good for Bruce, so I'd probably say Bruce actually won this trade here. If I had to pick one of the two to have on my team currently, I probably would pick Cortland Sutton, but that's mainly because of the next trade that happened. But I would have been all right, I think, with Luke Musgrave. Let's see. I guess I don't know how many points he scored. 7 points. So, for a tight end, tight end, you can score 0 points for a tight end. So 7 would have been fine with me, I think. But this next trade really helped me out. So like I said, I think Bruce won that trade. So congratulations, Bruce. You got Cortland Sutton. We'll see how long he lasts. And if they trade Jerry Jeudy, then that's even more reason for Bruce to win. So, all right. So the next trade, I traded Zach Ertz, Miles Sanders, Rashad White, a 2024 fifth, and a 2024 seventh to Sam for Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, and TJ Hawkinson. So obviously Sam had sent that message a week or so ago. He's like, "Hey guys, I'm looking to trade." And so I kind of took that to mean, oh, he's trying to sell out. So I'm like, hey, and I just initially sent him an offer. I think Ertz in the seventh for Hawkinson or something. He's like, I don't want him. He's bad. And I'm like, well, I thought you were selling out, and whatever, whatever. Long story short, he at the time was not selling out. A few days later, he's like, hey, what's the punishment for Sacco? I'm like, oh, you gotta do a 5K dressed up in whatever we pick, pretty much. And he's like, oh, okay, that's not so bad. I'm selling out. And so I'm like, oh, cool. You want to accept my trade? And he's like, I'm working on a counter. And so he sent a counter. And then I was thinking, I was like, I honestly could probably get a little bit more if I really wanted to. So I took a look at his team and I saw Jonathan Taylor and James Cook, both players I like. Obviously, I had Jonathan Taylor for the longest time. And I really almost drafted James Cook, but I went a different direction. Anyway, you don't really need all that backstory, but the trade went through. Little bit of behind the scenes. Lincoln was actually trying to get Jonathan Taylor as well. I refrained from any advice giving to him. And I kind of wish he was here to give his side of the story. I know it made him a little bit upset when the trade went through. As like I said, he was trying to get Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is good. He also has Zach Moss, so he would have had that backfield locked down. But things just happen, and sometimes the early bird gets the worm, and I got some pretty good worms. So Ertz currently he just got put on IR today as I'm recording, so that's pretty rough for Sam. Last week Miles was on bye, so I couldn't have played him anyway. And I did like Rachaad White. Got a lot of work, but not very effective, and kind of on a bad offense. Yeah, I guess their offense isn't that bad, but I liked him for a while, kept him, he was one of my keepers, so was trying to hold on to him, but he wanted him to get this trade done, and I was not going to say no to that because between those three, they scored damn near 60 points this week. So I think I won the trade. Obviously, it's nice for Sam to have the fifth and the seventh, as he's kind of trying to sell out. Miles could still do some solid work over the course of the season. Rachaad White as well, but Ertz, I'm not quite sure how well he's going to do for the rest of the season. Obviously on IR, like I said, so that's a minimum of 4 games right there. And he's a bit older. And they've got Trey McBride, the rookie tight end or second-year tight end, who kind of met him in snaps last week. So I'm not sure how he's going to pan out the rest of the season. But yeah, I just hope those guys keep scoring as they did this past week throughout the rest of the season. I definitely think I've solved my tight end problem with Hawkinson. I don't know if he's the number one. Let's see. He had been at points the number one tight end on this season. And tight end number 2. So pretty good stuff from him. Looking forward to him going forward. So yeah, that's that. I think I won that trade. I think anyone who disagrees would be a little silly potentially, but that's that trade. So next, Matt traded Jerome Ford and Jalen Warren to Bruce for Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, a 2024 fifth, and a 2024 11th. So Matt has also started to sell out. Bruce gets a couple solid running backs, Jerome Ford, Jalen Warren. Ford, one of the main guys over there in Cleveland at the moment. Kareem Hunt has maybe started taking over a bit more work. But we'll see how that pans out over the rest of the season. He also, I think, is currently dealing with a little bit of an injury, so that's not great for him. And then Jalen Warren been really, pretty good this season, and again, slowly taking over that lead role from Najee. So we'll see how well he can finish off the year. And then the Baltimore backfield, essentially, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, Gus leading the way probably a little bit, but it's a bit split between those two. So kind of a crapshoot. I feel like he just wanted some running backs in return so he could start a roster and not be absolutely shit on. So, and then obviously the picks are nice. It's the 5th and the 11th. So that's pretty good stuff right there. So, I feel like it's pretty even, maybe lean towards Matt since he got those nice picks. And like Jerome Ford and Jalen Warren aren't necessarily top caliber running backs. Obviously they're good, but or no Jonathan Taylor and James Cook. But yeah, I feel like it's fairly even. Bruce is trying to win. Matt's trying to stock up for next year. Which this final trade, Matt continued to do that. He traded Keenan Allen to State Farm for a 2024 fifth and a 2024 eighth. So I believe at the moment Matt has 3 fifths. So that's pretty good work for him right there. I know obviously Sam's got 2 fifths and now 2 sevenths as well. And Matt's now got 3 fifths, 2 eighths, and 2 elevenths. So good work all around for Matt right there. I had sent Matt an offer for Keenan Allen. Obviously, he's more looking for the picks. I did include a player in my trade offer as well as picks. But that offer right there that he received and ended up accepting was a better offer than I did send and probably was willing to do, also considering I did not have a fifth since I traded him earlier or traded that pick earlier. This one's pretty even. Matt gets nice picks. State Farm gets a nice player in Keenan Allen, I believe a top 10 receiver at the moment. So we'll see. It's really just up to Keenan if he's going to keep performing well. And that one's a pretty solid draw. So, man, we spent a lot of time talking about those trades. So we will quickly run through last week's matchups. Just kind of really quickly breeze through them. So, firstly, me versus Caleb. Not much to say here. I kind of crushed this week. It's really nice when you have really good players on your team and they all do good. So, not a single player under double digits. So that's really nice. And then Caleb, kind of poor performance from some guys. The Bijan situation was a bit rough. Apparently was sick, but he at least didn't get 0 for what that's worth. Unlike Keandre Miller, who's also on your team and got 0. So I beat up pretty good on Caleb there. So next up in the rivalry week was the Knacker matchup, Abby versus State, and Abby came in with the victory. Again, not all that close. Had some good performances. Obviously, Deonta Foreman, 33 points, 3 touchdowns will definitely get you across the finish line with a victory in most weeks. And Rasheed Rice did pretty solid as well. Pretty solid stuff. State didn't do terribly, but Abby just did pretty phenomenal. Next matchup, Fiala versus Adam, our out-of-towners. Probably the highest total scoring matchup on the week. Adam finally lost here. I believe he was on a bit of a nice win streak there, but Fiala finally shut that down for him. Pretty solid performances again. You don't have 120 points or 143 points without a few good performances, but Travis Kelce is elite. Just really good stuff. And that's that matchup. T-Corn versus Lincoln. That would have been a good one to have those boys on for this matchup. It was very close. 3-point difference here. Let's see who it came down to. Not Joshua Kelly touchdown probably really helped Lincoln, or T-Corn probably wasn't really expecting that with Eckler back and all. So I'm bet you that was pretty nice for him there. Decent scores. This one was a pretty low scoring matchup, but T-Corn did get the victory, helping me actually be very close to being currently in the playoffs. All the guys I needed to lose lost. It's really just up to who can finish off the season strong / score more points. Like if I had 10 more points scored on the season, I'd be currently in the playoffs, but we've got weeks to figure that out. So next matchup, another fairly close one. Former roommates. T-Corn and Lincoln were former roommates. We got Sam versus Colin. If that trade would have not happened, Sam would have easily won this. I did the math and I scored because of that trade on the week 39 more points than had I had not done the trade. And that is taking into account Miles Sanders, who obviously scored 0 points. But, James Cook and Jonathan Taylor, between the two of them, scored like 40. And then T.J. Hawkinson also scored like 20 points. So Rachaad White did pretty good, though, 15.9. And honestly, it's probably even more for Sam in that 37 because he had to play DJ Dallas, who had -2. Never want that. So at least Ertz did score more points than Collins, tight end, who got 0. But you're obviously looking for more points than him. Hey Sam, I do have another tight end if you're looking for another trade here because yours is currently on by IR. So I'll maybe hit you up after I record this Mish post. So just be on the lookout. Well, I guess we'll see at by the time you see this, you'll maybe know if I hit you up or not. But we'll see. Anyway, Colin won. Pretty close matchup. Moving on to Matt versus Brian, the final nail in the coffin for Matt's season. He scored a shit ton of points. Just everyone else scored a lot more than him, or maybe slightly more than him, or he just had a couple bad weeks. But yeah, Matt lost to Brian here, 131.61 to 116.06. So Matt still did have a pretty solid week. Puka continues to be great. Jerome Ford, 17.4. So pretty good stuff. You would have not expected the San Francisco defense to score negative points, but they just happened to do that. But yeah, Brian got the victory here, and now Matt is selling out. So moving us on to our final matchup. Oh, and Brian and Matt were former Ultimate Frisbee captains together, which also that was me and Caleb's rivalry. And the last matchup of the week was the same situation. Also, they were roommates. Michael and Bruce was rooting for Michael in this. Obviously, Bruce is the one person separating me from playoffs currently at the moment. He's directly above me. So yeah, this one fairly close, about 13-point difference here. Both teams scored pretty good amount of points. Again, a situation where both teams scored a lot, but Michael just happened to score a bit more. I wonder who's going to give Michael his first loss of the season, or if he's even going to have a loss. It'll probably be me in the playoffs. So, but it could be before then. But obviously, pretty good stuff here. Gus Edwards, 21.4. Good stuff from him. He had an 80-yard reception, so that'll give you 9 points. But besides that, he still did really well. Yeah, just pretty good stuff across the board for the most part here. The Cleveland defense was freaking incredible. Almost 20 points from them. But yeah, that was week 7 rivalry week. I hope everyone had a good time. I sure enjoyed it. Before we jump into the week 8 matchups, we will quickly run through the power rankings. First, or I guess not first, 14th. We've got Sam, 13 Matt, 12 Colin, 11 State, 10 Lincoln, 9 Abby, 8 Caleb, 7 Brian, 6 Bruce, 5 myself, 4 Adam, 3 Fiala, 2 T-Corn, and of course Michael at number 1, currently undefeated. So I'm going to take a sip before we jump into the week 8 matchups. Could mean a lot for some folks. Yeah. Alrighty. First up, me versus T-Corn. T-Corn's record obviously is better than mine, but with that recent trade I made, I feel pretty good about my chances against him this week. I mean, I'm projected to beat him. He does have some guys on his bench that he's going to obviously plug in, such as Breece Hall and CeeDee Lamb for certain. I don't know if he'll plug in anybody else. Probably just those two. So I do expect it, and I did calculate the math. It'll add about 16 points to his projections, which puts us damn near even. So I think it'll be a good matchup here. The lineups will probably mostly stay the same between now and that matchup starts on Thursday, which we do have some players here. I have James Cook in that matchup on Thursday, and I think that's it. He's got his defense, so that could be beneficial for both of us if James Cook does really well. I'm just saying, or if the Bills defense does really well. Bills, run the ball a lot. That's James Cook, baby. Anyway, I'm going to pick myself here. I'm on a little bit of a winning streak, and when I say a little bit, I literally just mean one game. But and I can't. I literally just talked about it, but I don't remember if T-Corn won or lost last week. I'm going to quickly just check, just because it's going to bother me. He did win, barely, against Lincoln. So, and I scored the most points on the week. So, and obviously that's not indicative of what's going to happen this week. A team can vary wildly in points, but I feel pretty, good with my consistency with these, a lot of these guys. So I'm picking myself. It should be a good matchup. Hopefully T-Corn's on next week so we can talk about it. Next, we've got Adam versus Colin. Colin currently projected to win. Oh, and this week there are no buys, so it's a bit strange how the NFL decides when teams are on bye, because there were 6 buys last week, 2 the week before, and then this week is 0. So all players are playing. We still got David Montgomery out on the bench down here. These folks were on bye last week, so I'm sure maybe they'll go into the lineup. Right? Tampa Bay, or not Tampa Bay, Washington, they were on bye. I don't remember. I don't have any Washington players. But they may jump into the lineup here. But yeah, just kind of looking at what we got for these players here. We got some solid players across the board. Obviously, these two teams are very close in record, just 1 game apart. So the teams are obviously pretty similarly matched. Adam had a pretty poor week last week, and Colin, I believe, didn't do much better. Actually, Adam scored more points, but got the loss, whereas Colin won with the less points. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to be wishful thinking here. I'm going to hope Adam loses so I can maybe jump him in the standings, even though he's in the other division. Overall standing would put me ahead of him potentially. So I'm going to pick Colin here. He does have a pretty good team. Austin Eckler, I don't know how well he did last week. Only 5.6, but Kansas City is a tough defense. He was on the road. Now they're going to at home versus Chicago. Should be a bit better of a matchup for him. So I'm thinking he'll probably turn on the Jets and give us some good scoring points here. So yeah, I'm going to pick Colin. Should be fun though. Next up, we've got Bruce versus Brian. Again, Bruce just barely lost last week by 10 points, and Brian just kind of went off against Matt. So both teams are kind of currently both of them playoffs. So this could be a very interesting matchup regarding that. The record isn't too far off. Only 2 games separate the two. We've got obviously some solid players. Bruce with the new running backs here in Jerome Ford. And I guess maybe he's not going to play Jalen Warren, but he does have him on his team. And, we do have some, obviously, both sides here, solid players. Jackson Smith finally had a blow-up game, 16.3 from him. So I'm going to, again, kind of do some wishful thinking / I think this is actually how it might turn out. Projections aren't really saying that. But Brian does have some player, maybe he'll throw in from his bench. I'm going to pick Brian here. It's probably the wrong decision. But like I said, I would like Bruce to lose, or at least me score like 10 more points than him. So that's this matchup. Next, we've got Matt versus Lincoln. Lincoln or Matt decidedly has given up for the season, trading away all of his players. So far, he's traded away 3 of them, and who's to say there won't be more during or by the time we reach play this week. And Lincoln is just fighting for his life to keep in that playoff conversation. He's right there in terms of record, a bit behind, I think, in terms of points. But 1 week can put him up in the playoff spot, depending on who wins, who loses, and how many points they score. Like I've said this all season, Matt's got a good team. He's just been very unlucky with, his matchups and everything. Jordan Addison freaking went off, which, side note here, I've got him in a dynasty league. I, in fact, just traded him I traded AJ Brown and a third for next year for Jordan Addison and a first. So I've got Jordan Addison kind of trying to rebuild right now, and I'm like, I'm gonna lose because that's what I'm trying to do, get the first pick. Because Addison freaking went off last week or last night, Monday for you future folks. Um, I won by like a point, so that was really upsetting. I also had KJ Osborne, so um, yeah, that kind of happened. And now I've got the third pick. Obviously, there's still season left, but it was just kind of a bummer that Jordan Addison decided to have his breakout game the week I traded for him, which, don't get me wrong, I'm excited for that going forward. Just this one week, I would have liked him to not score so many points. Anyway, I think it'd be kind of not funny for Lincoln. Obviously, he's trying to get in the playoffs, and Matt's not. But it'd be kind of funny if Matt got another win here when he's like trying to sell out, and Lincoln's obviously playing for the playoffs. It is a pretty close projection here. You know, like I said, Matt's got a good team, so even if he trades away some good players, he's still going to have a good team. But I do genuinely think Matt's going to win here. Lincoln does have some good players. Getting Garrett Wilson back from the bye. Who else? Nico Thielen. So he does have some rested players coming back from bye week. So I'm sure that will help in their performance. But yeah, I'm gonna go Matt here. It should be a good one though. I feel like this is gonna be a pretty fun week. All right, moving us on to Fiala versus State Farm. You know, Fiala is currently locked into playoffs at the moment, and State is fighting for that spot or a spot, I guess. Um, also got some guys coming back from by over here on State side with Joe Burrow and Derrick Henry, newly acquired Keenan Allen. So that's pretty much three new players right there that he didn't have last week. So, he's got a number of players that are, new to the squad / returning. And then over on Fiala's side, Christian Watson currently injured. That wasn't a pretty situation where he got hurt in that game on Sunday. Tyler Lockett not playing great lately. Maybe it's Jackson Smith and Jigba taking over. We'll see. Obviously, Travis Kelce. Chris Olave got arrested. He'll probably, be fine for a bit. But, we'll see if he can translate that off the road or off the field speed into on the field speed. He was speeding, for those who don't know. I think it was like 35 over and a 35. Traveling 35 over the posted speed limit. So, yeah. Anyway, and then Kareem Hunt getting a lot more work. And then obviously Travis Etienne and Josh Allen are very good. Man, these are close matchups, but I think I'm going to go Fiala. He's just been really on a roll. I just barely passed him for most points on the week. Yeah, he's pretty solid in terms of lineup here for the most part. Got a couple guys that are a little bit iffy, but they're obviously very talented, and he does have some guys on the bench. Maybe we'll play, probably not. Maybe Cam Akers. I don't know. He did pretty good yesterday. Not a lot of points, but a decent amount of usage, if I remember correctly. 39% of snaps. So I'm sure maybe that'll go up. We'll see. But I'm going to pick Fiala here. Yeah. Moving us on to Michael versus Abby. Obviously, Michael is undefeated, and he's been had some sticky situations lately. He's still got some very solid players. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is a freaking monster. Ayuk didn't do super great last night. Still got 10.7 points, but was not as involved as he probably should have been, especially considering Debo is out. Which doesn't Abby have Debo? Maybe not. Yeah, right there, Debo. But he's out. We'll see if he plays this week. Maybe not next 2 weeks. So there you go. it's probably going to be a Debo-less matchup. But so we'll see if Brandon Ayuk can take advantage of that. Again, some guys that are going to be probably plugged in coming off by Joe Mixon. I guess that's probably it. Yeah. Oh, this should be maybe not as close as the other matchups. But yeah, yeah, I think I gotta pick. You know what? I'm gonna go on the limb. I'm gonna pick Abby. It's again probably wrong, but she's got guys that can explode. Um, and it could just be one of those weeks where some of the studs on Michael's team don't perform as they should, and then Abby hands down the first loss to Michael of the season, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, I'm gonna pick Abby. Um, so yeah, there's that. Moving us on to the final matchup of the week. We've got Sam versus Caleb. Very different looking team for Sam than it was 2 weeks ago. He's kind of selling out, as I mentioned before. Obviously, he's going to have to get a new tight end. Once again, maybe I'll hit you up. You'll probably just pick someone up off waivers, but currently don't have one. Jamar Chase coming off by for a dog's at the door. It scared me. Anyway, Jamar Chase coming off by for Caleb. I'm sure he will crack the lineup. Anybody for Sam? T. Higgins. He'll probably crack the lineup. Maybe Allen or Tyler Boyd. Probably maybe Miles Sanders as well, or Devin Singletary. So Sam, actually, I looked at pretty much his entire bench last week was on a bye. So that could have played also in part to why he lost last week. But, with no bye weeks, doesn't have that issue. So I expect Sam to have a kind of revamped lineup by the time games kick off here this week. With all of that said, this one should be, again, a pretty fun matchup. A bit low scoring than some of those other fun matchups I was talking about earlier. But with all of that said, I'm gonna pick Sam. Again, I'm probably gonna be wrong with this. I just think it would be kind of funny, kind of like an upset situation here where the guy who's not really vying for playoffs wins against someone who is vying for playoffs. So that would be kind of a funny situation, don't you all think? Maybe not Caleb would think it's funny, but I think it would be funny, and I'm sure there's plenty of other people that think it would be funny. So yeah, that was all of the matchups. That'll just about do it for this week. Yeah, this drink was really quite tasty. It didn't foam up like a lot of beers because it's not a beer. Um, so good luck to everybody this week except for T-Corn. I hope I beat you this week. And yeah, with that, thank you and thank you.